Let's bring in White House correspondent MaryAlice Parks and attorney Jeff Robbins, the former chief minority counsel at the Senate Permanent Subcommittee on Investigations. MaryAlice, let's start with you. We are set to hear from Pence's former counsel and retired judge who informally advised Pence on today's hearing. What can we expect to hear there?
Yeah, Phil, aides last night did a call with reporters to sort of preview what we're going to hear. And aides for the committee kind of broke it down into three parts. One, this idea that the Trump White House had, that they concocted, that somehow Vice President Pence could play a role here in their favor, could decide to take matters into his own hands and unilaterally overturn the election results. The second phase, that so many people around Trump told him that that was illegal, that there was no legal basis for that, that it was just not something written in the Constitution. It was not the vice president's role, that he instead has a ceremonial role in overseeing election results. And that third, they want to lay out that pressure campaign on the vice president led directly, they say, to the violence on January 6th. That Trump was able to animate his supporters, animate those rioters around this idea that Pence should do something to keep him in office. And so they're going to structure the hearing today around those three big buckets, Phil.
Right. And as MaryAlice points out, the hearing will focus on the theory that Vice President Pence could unilaterally reject electors and Trump's pressure on the vice president to do so, even as aides were telling him it was illegal. So, Jeff, how does the committee need to lay this case out for the American people?
Well, former Vice President Pence has said that what the president did, what former President Trump did, essentially was un-American. And that, it seems to me, is the understatement of the millennium. What you're going to hear today, what we're going to hear today, is that former President Trump instructed his vice president, I want you to block, I want you to refuse to count the electoral votes that made Joe Biden president. Notwithstanding the fact that I know it's illegal, notwithstanding the fact that everybody knows it's illegal, notwithstanding the fact that there's no basis in the Constitution under federal law, that it violates Supreme Court decisions, it's all legal. I want you to do it because I want to stay in power, even though the American voters have deemed otherwise. So that is a tremendously problematic issue. And it seems to me that the conversation in America has subtly but profoundly changed from how do we possibly indict a former president of the United States to, on the basis of this evidence, how do we not indict the former president of the United States? That's an important issue. It's an important problem, and it's one that's going to be vexing to not only Attorney General Garland, but to the American people as these hearings go forward.
MaryAlice, the committee hasn't said whether there is still interest in hearing from former Vice President Pence himself. So the question is there any chance he would testify, and why wouldn't they want to put him there in front of the American people?
Yeah, we've been pressing them on that. They've been getting a lot of questions as late as last night. They kind of refused to answer. They were careful around that one. You know, it's hard to imagine they put him in the hot seat. Just would be so highly controversial to subpoena him to sit there. But it's important to note that he did not stand in the way of any of his aides participating in this. And we have seen actually some of the most cooperative witnesses are people that came from his orbit, people around him that wanted to show and be able to testify and explain to this committee that they were extremely worried that their boss was in danger that day, just how close the rioters came and how he was in physical danger, and his family was in physical danger that day. So I don't think it's out of the question down the road, but I think at this point it seems pretty unlikely. The committee also is really focused on those witnesses that they can get here pretty quickly without legal challenges.
And Jeff, as MaryAlice points out, this is kind of a political tightrope to walk here. Even before the events of January 6th were over, we were hearing chants of hang Mike Pence. So Mike Pence decides to send his aide in to testify instead of going in himself. Is this a political calculation because he may want to be president? Why do you think this is?
Well, I think in fairness, while obviously it's to his advantage to not testify for obvious reasons if he's thinking about running for the Republican nomination in a couple of years, it is the testimony of his chief counsel that is most important. You're going to hear today about a memorandum that his chief counsel wrote to the vice president the day before January 6th saying, this is totally illegal. You cannot do this. And so that witness is the right witness, Greg Jacob.
All right, Jeff Robbins, MaryAlice Parks, as always, thank you both very much. And a note, we will have full team coverage of today's hearing starting at 1 p.m. Eastern right here on ABC News Live.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.